Hain's grandfather looked at the promotion card and was impressed with it. Hain's grandfather praised on Jamon, who had become a representative at a young age, because Hain's grandfather was bad at management. Jamon felt a bit embarrassed because he only worked in a small company. Hain's grandfather was named Mr. Kim Ho, the previous head of the Kim family. The legendary figure who raised the Kim family to this day is a simple figure. Humans with superpowers make up 40% of the entire human population, in families where inherited genes at a similar level of abilities are manifested. A bald-headed thug ordered him to give him the money, otherwise he would stick broken glass into this child, who for some reason had a bigger body than him. A heroic family unit begins to emerge. Kim Ho in his youth was just an ordinary house husband. Because these thugs woke up Kim Ho's son, he was beaten black and blue. Her captive was rescued, and she thanked Kim Ho, who was carrying her second child, and was also carrying her first child. They previously lived simply and were just a group of families who took the law into their own hand. They became very popular, with many books being printed, centered around a prominent family. They eventually founded an internationally recognized society of heroes, and in front of Jamon, a grandfather who even had difficulty eating meat, was the legendary Kim Ho. Jamon heard that Kim Ho's influence was so extensive that Jamon couldn't lower his guard if he was still around him. Jamon was suddenly called. Jamon was surprised by the call from Hain's mother, while Kim Ho, Hain's grandfather, was still trying to chew his food. Hain's mother called Jamon because she was curious about the work that Jamon often did. With a small smile, Jamon said,
"I mainly recruit cleaning specialists and dispatch teams to factories, buildings, and other places,"
while showing someone who seemed to be the executor's subordinate who was dealing with thugs.
"That needs cleaning service."
While showing the executor's men who were cleaning up the thugs, a thug who was still alive tried to shoot him. The executor's men were shocked and didn't have time to dodge.
"That are necessary for bus scenes purposes."
While showing the executor who hit the thug's head and deflected the gunshot, and the final scene shows the sharp gaze of the executor.
"I also visit sites myself to handle the cleaning,"
Jamon said while putting on a face like a good and flawless person. Kim Ho praised Jamon because the fact that Jamon was personally involved showed his great enthusiasm. Jamon thought that Hain's grandfather was too excessive in praising him. At the door there was someone knocking. It turned out that he was a chef who worked at the restaurant. He gave the additional order requested by Hain's mother. Jamon was surprised by how much food there was. Hain's mother ordered a lot of food because Hain's mother felt that Jamon had a lot of work and had to eat well. Jamon pretended happy to survive even though he was actually forced to. Jamon was given more food from his in-laws, and Jamon was forced to finish it and was grateful. His in-laws offered more, but Jamon refused and felt that was enough. Jamon suddenly heard the phone ringing from his cell phone and turned his gaze to his cell phone. Jamon was surprised by a sudden call from his subordinate, who Jamon changed the name to the company to disguise the contact. Jamon asked permission to go out to call for a moment about his work. After leaving the dining room, Jamon answered the phone from his subordinate, who suddenly called his boss. Jamon used a headset and said to his men that he had said that he had important business to handle tonight. His men apologized because it was about the director of Hannyong, who Jamon referred to as K. K is an executive officer. He always wears a mask and his face is hidden. His subordinates reported that K had surrounded the target they were after. Jamon assumed that they had surrounded the place where the entire Kim family would be present. Jamon praised him and told his men to tell them to process it immediately. Suddenly there was the sound of footsteps heading towards the yard too. When his men wanted to tell his boss who the target was, suddenly Kim Yi-hoon came and surprised Jamon. His men had not had time to tell Jamon who was the target, but Jamon turned it off and looked panicked. Kim Yi-hoon casually sat down, saying to Jamon that "I'm not bothering you, am I?" Kim Yi-hoon said while offering him a cigarette. Jamon didn't accept it because Jamon's girlfriend didn't like him, so he made him quit smoking. Kim Yi-hoon was also naughty to Jamon by saying that he was affectionate. Jamon felt that Kim Yi-hoon was listening to his conversation because he was very annoying today. Jamon also thought that he wanted to quietly clean it up. Jamon remembered Hain, who was very nervous and also excited about their wedding tomorrow. Jamon shook his head. He put it off and felt that it wasn't the time yet. Meanwhile, Kim Yi-hoon is not ready for his nephew's wedding. Kim Yi-hoon started talking to Jamon. Jamon was ready with the questions he would ask. Kim Yi-hoon felt that Jamon must have been surprised when Hain introduced their family. Jamon answered that he was not surprised at all. Kim Yi-hoon said that Hain was physically weak and did not have any strength. To save Hain, the Kim family tried their best to hide Hain from the media. Hain couldn't even talk about how he was also part of a family of heroes. This made Hain, who was always in the hospital, very lonely. Kim Yi-hoon hoped that he could now find happiness with the right person. Jamon, who heard this, felt very sympathetic to Hain and want to make him happy. Kim Yi-hoon thanked Jamin for being close to Hain and making him happy. Jamin felt that it wasn't because of Hain's happiness and told Kim Yi-hoon that if he wanted a wedding invitation, Jamin could give it to him because Jamin knew someone who was an expert in that field. Jamin reached into his pocket and wanted to give Kim Yi-hoon a wedding invitation. But after Jamin looked in his jacket pocket, he couldn't find it. Kim Yi-hoon suddenly slammed his hand on the table while showing Jamin and Hain's wedding invitation, which Jamin was now looking for. With a suspicious face, and while putting out a cigarette, Kim Yi-hoon asked Jamin if he was looking for this. Jamin was shocked by the letter that Kim Yi-hoon put. Kim Yi-hoon asked Jamin where he got it, and they stared at each other sharply. Jamin felt he had made a mistake by dropping the letter when he was about to leave. Jamin felt gloomy and thought about how he could make such a stupid mistake. Jamin started to release the power of the executor and thought that he should take care of it now. When the executor wanted to attack, suddenly the speaker sounded and startled them both. The person who used it was not an employee of the restaurant. He grabbed the employee and used the speaker. He asked the Kim family if they had finished eating. It can be seen that K and his men are threatening them with their superpowers. K says that this restaurant is now under the control of the executor. Jae-rim, who is an executor, was confused by this incident because he did not feel that he was the one who ordered them to do that. The executor's subordinate, called K, began to use his superpowers, releasing a shock wave on the floor which made the floor crack. Otherwise, K would order his subordinates to kill the prisoners they captured. K, while wearing his head coat, started calling the Kim family hypocritical and disgusting people. Jamin and Kim Yi-hoon showed their displeasure with serious faces. They started running hastily from the Kim family yard. They started running towards the dining room. Kim Yi-hoon immediately opened the door in a hurry. Kim Yi-hoon, who was tired, started to see the Kim family members. Kim Yi-hoon was surprised to see his family who had gone outside from the restaurant. Made Kim Yi-hoon surprised. Jae-rim with both hands gripped the railing tightly. He started to look carefully, looking for where Hain was. When he looked to his left, he saw the Kim family who were outside the mansion. There was the Kim family father, the Kim family mother, the Kim family's eldest sibling, the head the previous Kim family, the Kim family grandfather, and most importantly the person Jamin was looking for was showing sad expressions. She is the only daughter of the Kim family and Hain's youngest child. Jamin, who was the executor, was angry at the person who dared to impersonate him. From a distance, Jamin saw someone with yellow hoodie hair and wearing a mask. Jamin was surprised by K's presence there, because he didn't feel like he was the one who assigned him here. Jamin started to look at the messages on his cell phone. He felt that instead of taking care of the Kim family, K and his subordinates should take care of the Lee family. In the chat, his subordinate named Kim Sa-won wanted to inform him that Director K had changed his target to the Hannyong family, but because his boss suddenly hanging up the phone, he didn't have time to tell his boss and could only send a message. Jae-rim felt panicked and broke out in cold sweat over this unexpected incident. Jamin was confused about what to do now. Behind him, Kim Yi-hoon patted Jae-rim on the shoulder, calling Jae-rim. Kim Yi-hoon wanted Jae-rim to stay away from there. Jae-rim was surprised by his sudden arrival. Jae-rim felt uncomfortable with Kim Ji-hoon's presence and asked what he wanted to do now. Jae-rim felt like he had to go there because Hain was there. While looking at him suspiciously, Kim Yi-hoon said that he knew about that. Kim Yi-hoon started to take out an airshot from his index finger. He planned to shoot the man there, namely K, while using his aura to give a signal to his brother. Jae-rim felt that Kim Yi-hoon still suspected him. His older brother, who got the signal from his younger brother, was shocked. Looking back, he knew that Kim Yi-hoon was going to use his ability, and Kim Young-sik intended to divert their attention as much as possible. Kim Young-sik bought time by asking K how their information was leaked, and where K got the information. Since their presence there was supposed to be kept secret. K assumes that they think they are extraordinary, and thinks that the leaked information is just that, said K with a smile. Kim Young-sik was angry and confused about what information was leaked besides their presence there. K immediately got out of the car, and intended to talk about information about the Hannyong family which was not known to the public. After hearing that Kim Young-sik and Kim Ho thought it was impossible for them to know, K said that there was actually a youngest member hidden in their family, while showing Hain's scared face. Hain's mother calmed Hain, told Hain not to listen to K, and said that if K was too presumptuous. Next to him was Hain's eldest brother Kim Hae-yoon. Hain felt no problem about the information and asked K where he heard the information. K laughed at Hain, who was too innocent, because Hain thought that K would tell him, but unfortunately he didn't. If K had more time, he could have kidnapped and made Hain a hostage. On the other hand, Kim Yi-hoon had started aiming at K, who was silent. Kim Yi-hoon felt that his preparations were almost complete with the light around his index finger getting denser. But suddenly Jae-rim jumped from the fence and made Kim Yi-hoon feel confused, making Kim Yi-hoon's skills invalid. Even though he was suspicious of Jae-rim, he was still worried about Jae-rim as his nephew's girlfriend. Hain's mother was shocked to see Jae-rim suddenly jump. Jae-rim, without using any strength, jumped from the 3rd floor. With a serious face he started looking for the place where he would land. Hain called her boyfriend Jae-rim Oppa with a surprised face. Jae-rim started to land in the bushes in the restaurant yard. This made everyone who saw him suddenly become silent. Kay was confused by the person who suddenly fell and caused a lot of dust to fly. Feeling anxious, Hain immediately ran towards Jaemin, who was starting to come out of the bushes.
"What are you doing? That was dangerous,"
said Hain while hitting Jaemin.
It's fine. It's Fee.
Jaemin said while smiling, holding back the pain. Kay was shocked by the sharp gaze that Jae-rim gave him. Jae-rim told Kay to be quiet by trying telepathy with Kay. Kay, with a confused expression, remembered the familiar face in front of him and tried to receive his telepathy. Kay remembered that he was the executor's boss, but Jae-rim's telepathy failed and Kay instead thought about the executor's casual clothes and tried to call Jae-rim. While sighing, Jae-rim picked up the rock under him because he had no other choice to cover K's mouth. Hain asked what his girlfriend was doing. Jae-rim started to lift his legs and pose as a pitcher, while trying to connect his telepathy to Kay, which failed to connect. He sharply told Kay to close his mouth. Jae-rim told Kay to be quiet while throwing the stone as hard as he could at Kay. With thick smoke behind it, the rock began heading towards Kay. With full force the rock glowed due to the strong throw, making the rock hot. The stone hit Kay, who was still daydreaming, and shocked him in pain. Kim Young-sik, Hain's father, was confused by this incident and thought that Jae-rim had superpowers, at the same time shrinking his body and deactivating monster mode. Kim Young-sik was surprised by this incident, because previously he thought that Jae-rim was one of the executor's subordinates. Jae-rim, with an angry expression, began to slowly approach Kay, which made Kay confused. Jae-rim began to clench his fists as hard as possible. Jae-rim immediately ran quickly towards Kay, making Kay confused by the incident. Still without his superpower, Jae-rim tried to hit Kay. Kay was shocked by the incident and felt scared while asking why his boss did that to him.